Today, we're going to be learning about physical and chemical changes. So let's look at the essential questions. How does evidence of chemical reactions indicate that new substances with different properties are formed? So in a chemical reaction, if you see here, we have two different molecules. So these molecules are taken apart in a chemical reaction, and that's what this arrow indicates, and then become two different molecules than what you started with. They're interacting and they're changing into a new substance. So the bonds between the atoms are broken and they're created to form new molecules. So a physical change is something that changes the form or the appearance of the substance. It doesn't change the substance into anything new. For example, whipping eggs. Now, if you've ever whipped eggs, if you can see in this picture, it does look different. But all you're doing is introducing air into that. And if the air is removed, the egg is still what it was to begin with. Boiling water, as you see here, it becomes steam as you boil it, but it's still water, still H2O. Dissolving sugar into water. If you've ever had rock candy, that is how this process is done, is that sugar is dissolved into water and then the water is evaporated, leaving large crystals of sugar, and that's what rock candy is. Or dicing vegetables. They're just smaller versions of the same vegetable. So physical and chemical changes. Physical changes would be changing the state of matter, such as going from a solid to a liquid or a liquid to a gas. Changing the color. For instance, when you paint your house, it doesn't change what the house is, it just changes the color of the house. Changing the temperature, either by adding heat or removing heat. Changing the shape of it. For instance, if you fold a piece of paper into a football. Or changing the texture of something. Let's say you had a piece of cloth and you rubbed it a lot and it became much fuzzier. That would still be a physical change because that cloth is still that cloth. So what you're going to do is you're going to look here. You're going to find the evidence for physical changes and place them here. And then what do you think the remaining cards are evidence of? A chemical change is when two or more substances join to form new substances with new chemical properties. For instance, iron rusting. When iron and water combine, we get rust. Gas burning. A flame is an indication of a chemical change, because that is showing that there is a chemical change happening. The release of that heat and that light shows that that is a chemical change. Eggs cooking. Now, when eggs cook, the proteins in the egg change form, not they break apart and then come back together as a different substance. And bread rising. Again, that's a chemical change. So, what is the main difference between a substance going through a physical change and one going through a chemical reaction? Why is making fruit popsicles a physical change? Now here, there are two questions. Make sure you answer both of those questions here. An unexpected color change is proof of a chemical reaction. For instance, fireworks. In the Bill Nye video, he talked about how they add salts and metals, and then once they combust or explode in the air, you get different colors, and that is a chemical change. Leaves changing from green to red, and green to orange and red in the fall. That is a chemical change. Unexpected temperature change, where you're not adding or removing heat. So adding baking soda vinegar causes the temperature to decrease. When you get a fever and your body temperature increases, that's fighting infections. So make sure that you answer this question here. Another chemical reaction is combusting or burning. a chemical reaction between substances, usually including oxygen, accompanied by giving off heat and or light. And it's a permanent change and can't be undone. For example, if you burn wood or if you burn a candle or rusting of metal. Another thing that happens during chemical changes is we get something called precipitates. So precipitates is a solid that appears in a solution and settles to the bottom. For instance, if you've ever grabbed sour milk, at the bottom there's milk solids. You can see it. It also changes the smell, which is a chemical reaction as well. Or bathtub rings. That's a reaction between the soap and your body salt and water, and you get a precipitate on your tub. Another indication of a chemical change is that bubbles form because gases are being released, because there's a chemical change happening, and in the reaction, one of the things being formed is a gas, and then you get bubbles. Some examples are Alka-Seltzer or when vinegar and baking soda are combined. So you're going to read about Betty and her grandson making a cake. You're going to answer the question whether or not it's a physical change or a chemical reaction. How do you know that? Last look, you are going to drag these under which change they are, either a physical change or a chemical change. Okay? And here you're going to write a short definition for physical and chemical changes. Do not skip that. You're going to answer this question. How does evidence of chemical reactions indicate that new substances with different properties are formed? And which parts do you still need help to understand? Have a great day.